what are the open conversations and where it's heading. One of the key themes that kept coming up was the increase in news of death by suicide of young children, young adults. And of course, that was very worrying. But to me, what was worrying was the narratives were heard from parents and teachers, schools or colleges, where, oh my God, we can't tell anything to these children now. They're too sensitive. We need to be super careful about what we tell them because we don't know what they will do. And alongside that, so one is a lack of knowledge or lack of skill of knowing how do we deal with this or how do we speak to the young adults and how do we support them. That was a huge gap. And the second narrative that came up was, oh, maybe we should just raise them just like how we were raised, which is getting nicely hit, scolded, yelled at, screamed, punished. And that was good because look how wonderful we turned out, how we are all doing so well in our lives. That's because our parents raised us in strong punishment and scoldings and screamings, and nothing happened to us. So we should just do that. We are just being too soft on our children or these millennial children. Is that narrative, and now that for me is even more worrying, which means we are going backwards. So I thought that is something I will open up and talk about today and listen to more ideas and conversations around this. Uh, it is true that yes, the children are sensitive, and why shouldn't they be? Because children are more aware that certain things are not okay. That when their boundaries are being crossed, whether it is their body or whether it is their emotions or whether it is their thought, and somebody is completely dismissing their thought process or ideas even with before they are heard or seen, it is a violation. And yes, children are aware when their emotions, whether it is anxiety or sadness or anger, when they voice it and the person listening to it or at the other end of it, the adult, is not able to hold space for that, hold space for their thoughts even if they disagree, hold space for their emotions even if they disagree, and also violations to the body as a result of this to force them to agree to something in a hurry. So these violations, I think the current generation is very aware because they have much more access to information and knowledge than what we ever had access to when we were children. We had access to only what our parents said and what our teachers said. That's it. There was no questioning beyond that because we did not know anything more than what our parents, what was taught at home and what was told to us in school. That's not the case. The children we are raising now certainly have access to way more. So then, if we are not uh, listening to and giving them the space to share what are they thinking, what are they feeling, yes, there is going to be clash. Yes, there is going to be more frustration. Yes, they are having to deal with much more frustration than what we had to deal with. And as parents, yes, we are having to say no, no, no to a whole lot of more things than that our parents ever had to tell no to. So how do we then hold space for this frustration, which is of course high? It is high for all of us. So the word here that we are going to discuss today in this video is holding space. Holding space for another person's diverse thinking process. Another diverse means different from ours. I think this way, but hey, my child thinks some other way. And sure, of course, I can disagree with my child and I do not agree to what my child is thinking, not a problem. But at least I can accept the fact that, I see that you're thinking this way. Now, that is called holding space. Now, to hold space, I need to be emotionally resilient and I need to be able to sit with my discomfort of the disagreement. But if I, as an adult, cannot do that, because we were not taught to do that, because we were just told, stop crying, stop it, and we had to just hold it inside of us, we won't be able to hold it any longer when we are getting it from our younger ones also. We got it from our parents, now we get it from our children, we are not able to hold it. So I think this generation is one sandwiched where we are getting it from both sides, but we have to learn. So as adults, I think it's on us to learn how to hold space. And it's a very tricky concept on how, if we do not hold space, we can cause more damage. And for this, I'll take an example uh, of what happened when I was unable to hold space for and created more damage in as a result. But this is in the context of my pet cat Zorro, who had to be spayed. Now, I think my thoughts is I think he needs to be spayed. Obviously, in this context, because he's a cat, I'm not even bothered about what he's thinking. It's like I want you spayed, and he is like he doesn't have a choice but to agree because he cannot protest. Of course, he does protest because he will not come with me to the pet clinic. I will have to use force to put him into the bag, take him there. No, of course he protested because no, of course he doesn't want to be spayed, isn't it? So that's my thought, my feeling that I am doing the right thing, and it is my need that yes, you need to be spayed, otherwise you're going to have more litter, and then we don't know what to do with the kittens. Those kittens will not be cared for, they will die, and so on, and all other reasons that I might have. Of course, I can decide, and I need not make sure that I have Zoro's consent because I didn't, because I am not going to get his consent because, of course, he disagrees. Nevertheless, as the so called responsible adult, I spayed. Yes, he protested, he came, but holding space is knowing that he was not okay with the process. Yes, he is discomforted with the process. Yes, his body has been violated without his consent. Yes, he is going through whatever emotions, which is he's angry, he's sad, he's in pain. Yes, I'm not sure whether he's thinking now. This is, I know I'm making it like cat and human, it's different, but nevertheless, this is for us to easily understand the concept of holding space, that there is a complete difference between what I wanted and what is happening on the other side. So when I got him to care for him after the pain that I have only caused, all that I need to do is accept that yes, he is in pain, and yes, of course, it's my decision of surgery that has caused the pain, and I can hold space. But if I am not able to see his pain because we had to put a cone, the e-collar around his neck, which he hated all the more. So now he is in pain and groggy after the surgery and the sedation, which is true, I knew it. He is double irritated because now there is this e-collar which he is somehow trying to pull it off. So there is a lot of, if we have to relate it to children, it would be a lot of tantrum, pulling it away, pushing it, and not allowing me to go anywhere close to him because he is feeling unsafe with himself. This is not me. I don't want this collar. My body is aching and I don't feel safe anymore. Now at that time, holding space means I am not pushing myself to go close to him and trying to pet him when he is just not wanting me close at all. But I know he's safe because yes, he has the e-collar. Yes, he's thoroughly irritated, angry, and pissed off with me. Yes, he's sad. Yes, he's in pain. All I can do is ensure that there is safety. But I can see that he is discomforted. Holding space is knowing that yes, he is discomforted and allowing him to be discomforted and just being there saying, I understand. Yes, it is difficult. It is really, really, really hard. Yes, what happened to you was beyond your concern and it was not okay. But yeah, but then I don't have to jump to reason saying, but Soro, this is important for you. I did it because I don't have to justify why I did what I did because that is not the point. He's already feeling unsafe with me. So holding space is allow that person the space to come back to feeling safe with just my presence and knowing that okay, I can be safe. So all that I had to do was keep the food, keep the water, and not go try to console him and calm him at the moment when he didn't want that. But I will ensure the safety. So my room was closed. I would sit there. He would be in my room. He would cry, 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 cry. And I would be like, yeah, I understand. So I'm just talking. But the more I talked, the more he was crying. And after some time, yes, I was feeling discomforted. I was beginning to feel guilty. It was gently becoming from his emotion and his discomfort, of which is valid. He is the one who's had the surgery, not me, but it was becoming my discomfort. Because I could not sit with my discomfort of watching his discomfort, what did I do? The most stupid thing, which is I thought, okay, maybe I will take off his e-collar or that cone. And so that he feels comforted for a little while. Poor baby, I felt very sorry. So what did I do? I went, despite enough reason in my logical head, and enough instructions given from the doctor, do not take the e-collar unless the wound has healed. Of course, my logical reason said that the collar is necessary, otherwise he's going to lick his wound, the stitches will come out, it's going to create more problem. Despite all the logic and reason I had, I found it uncomfortable to sit with watching his discomfort and him trying to remove it. And I went close and I took it out, saying, it's okay, you have your food. He could even have his food with the collar, but no. I went and removed it, thinking I will supervise and let him sleep for some time without this. And I wanted, in my attempt to comfort him, I went and removed this. Exactly what we do with children also. When they are crying and when they are upset, we say no to something. No, you cannot have TV time, or no, you cannot go for sleepover, or no, you cannot have that extra chocolate, or no, you can go to play after you finish your vegetables, or whatever. Whenever we say no to something, of course our children are going to get angry. Now, if we cannot hold space for that anger, and if we are getting trying to reason and reason and reason, that's not holding space, which is why our children get more angry and say, can't you understand that I'm irritated? So I could understand Zoro is irritated here, but no, I couldn't hold space for that. I couldn't sit with him in his discomfort. That is my problem. That's not his problem. Similarly, if we as adults cannot sit with the discomfort that our children are going through, whether it is sadness or anger or anxiety, if our children cannot express that to us, and we cannot just hold space and say, yes, I understand, yes, I agree that this is really, really difficult, and that's it, shut up, don't jump to reason. If that is not possible, whose problem is that? That's not the children who are being insensitive and think we are being insensitive, isn't it? We as adults are not able to listen. You're not even listen. They're not even asking us to, they might be asking us to do something different and we don't need to, but we just have to listen. So if we cannot even do that, we are not holding space. So coming back to Zoro, how this can escalate and do more damages, I removed the collar and he was thrilled. He just ran to under the bed where obviously I couldn't fit myself into. He went to one corner where I couldn't reach him. So he went away and he started licking his wound. I hit panic. Now that became my escalated, my anxiety, my oh so sorry Zoro, poor baby, let me help you. And did I help him? No, I made it worse. He started licking the wound. So now I hit panic. Now my panic is becoming sadness. I'm like, okay, oh my God, I did something stupid. And I am screaming and yelling at him. Now it became my anger saying, Zoro, don't lick your wound. And I am yelling, any need. He was just sad now. So now his sadness, and the more he licks his wound, the more it's hurting him. So he's crying more and he just didn't know what to do. And I am here going under the bed, taking the e-collar, trying to put it back. Will he even allow me to come close? He was not even allowing. So he is now trying to attack. Obviously, he's angry. And then I'm also angry. I'm in panic. So what happened here? Co-escalation. It was only the other person's. Now, if you put it in child, it was the child's. In this case, if I'm the mother and he is my child, the child was uncomfortable. I knew it. Yes, he's gone through surgery. What did I do? In my attempt to comfort and console, I did something stupid and now I am angry, he is angry, co-escalation. And then, yes, he was trying to jump out of the window, he was trying to hit me, hurt me. I didn't know what to do. So I had to somehow really hold him tight and get the cone back, and it made things worse. So what happened? Where I could have just held space in the first place, I increased his bodily wounds. I increased his discomfort and increased his mistrust with me, where I because I could not hold space in the first place. Now, this is exactly what we sometimes do with children also. We say no to something and they scream, shout, and we say, okay, fine. And then we will, no, 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 but that's not good. We mess it up because we are not able to sit with it. So, before we hurry and say that, oh, we were raised so fine, no, no. We are not able to hold space and see somebody's discomfort because we were never taught by our parents to sit with our discomfort. What did our parents do? If I cry or if I'm angry or I'm upset with something, they will say, stop it, go do it. So stop it, don't cry, don't be anxious, don't show me this anger. Tuck. So what did we learn in our when we were children is to hold it inside our body. So now when we are raising children, we are already holding so much from our childhood that we are now cannot hold any longer. So when it comes more, boom, let's go escalation. So let us not please go back to doing the same thing with our children. And this is what we are trying to break here, breaking the patterns or intergenerational trauma or so many different words and things we can call this. But let me call it as holding space for our emotions, sitting with the discomfort of our emotions of, oh my God, my baby is struggling. Sitting with their emotions, yes, I understand. Agreeing and accepting their emotion does not mean we have to go do something differently about it. We don't have to do anything. So holding space is doing nothing, just your presence. Being emotionally available means be available for their emotions. But if we are not available for the young child's emotion and not even hearing them out and hurrying into solutions, do that, do this, why don't you try that, why don't you try this, or do this, can I do this for you, can I? We try to save them and find them solution when which they didn't want because that's not what they wanted or probably that's not in their best interest and we know that. So this, I'm telling this in the context of my child, but cat and though different species, I think the concept of holding space is clear. We'll discuss with more examples, or if you have any questions, please ask. And this is an important topic, so I do not think millennials need to be toughened up. I think we need to become more sensitive, and we don't have to do anything to take away their discomfort. Just sit with it, let them release that energy. But in our attempt, like in my attempt, I pushed it, and yes, he did try to jump. Yes, he did try to hurt me. Yes, he did everything. And that's almost the same things that we see with children when we do not hold space for their emotions. So thank you so much for watching this, and do share in your comments if you have other viewpoints and we can have an open conversation around. Thank you.